This is Arthur Robinson Jr. I am the creator of PowerfulInterviews.com. I am the creator of AudioSecretsTrainingEvent.com. I want to welcome each and every one of you to this phenomenal video. In this interview, you're going to experience life-changing information that you will not find anywhere else. I have secured an incredible interview with a great friend of mine, international speaker, best-selling author, the multi-millionaire Alan Williams. Alan Williams is the best-selling author of his phenomenal book, which is called Money, What Financial Experts Would Not Tell You. So in this interview, you're going to hear exclusively how Alan Williams breaks down layman's terms about the 4 pillars. That's retirement, savings, implementation, and growing your money. That is huge. Alan Williams, he also breaks down layman's terms about he spent over 40 years in the business development industry, and he helped other entrepreneurs to scale their companies to the next level. Alan Williams, he also breaks down layman's terms about 401ks and much, much more. So remember, this is not BS information. The right information will change your situation. Wealthy people take advice from other wealthy people, and unfortunately, broke people take advice from broke people. And I love what the top actor, he's worth over $150 million, Morgan Freeman said. Morgan Freeman said, courage is the key to life itself. Are you hearing me right now? So right about now, go get your pen and your pad, sit back and relax, and write down some notes. In this interview that I'm going to reveal to each and every one of you with my great friend, international speaker, best-selling author, the multi-millionaire, Alan Williams. This interview is going to change your life. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. So, check it out.
Today, I have a wonderful person on the show. He's a great friend of mine. His name is Alan Williams. And for those that don't know Alan, let me explain to each and every one of you about this incredible, phenomenal man. Alan Williams is experts, and today he understands how to solve the financial problems facing most individuals like Alan Williams, a nationally published author, speaker, and personal financial mentor with a 30-year background in corporate management and finance. In 1994, he co-founded Time and Money, LLC, a Utah-based service company specializing in principle-based money management, and is a principal author and developer of Money Mastery, a financial literacy and coaching program that helps individuals and families get in total control of their finances. Today, along with his coaching and speaking duties, he serves as a chief executive manager of Time and Money, LLC. Alan Williams is the best-selling author of his phenomenal book, which is called Money Mastery, and that is an awesome, impressive resume. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome the one, the only, the powerful Alan Williams to the show.
Well, thank you, Arthur. That was a very exuberant introduction, and I appreciate it. I just hope that we will be able to talk today in ways that we can lift lives of people who listen to this program.
Well, I'd like to thank you, Alan, for taking time out of your busy schedule to educate me and the listeners worldwide about building wealth. I gladly appreciate it.
You bet. Happy to do it. I come to you with a lot of experience in the arena of personal money management. I would differentiate that to be from financial investing, as in stocks and bonds and other forms of investing. What I'm talking about is the money that you actually manage and spend, and most people spend more money than they have available. Most people, an average American citizen works for 40 years to age 65, making $2 million total in that period of time. At the end of that period of time, they have $60,000 to their name in terms of savings. And that, by the way, that $60,000 includes the equity on their home. So we have a real problem that I'm sure our listeners are sensitive to, which is that it's very, very difficult to get ahead today. And yes, the economy stinks, and we have a lot of economic problems as a nation, but there are things that we do individually that aggravate the tax environment and the available dollar environment in our own personal situation. So what I like to talk about, and what Money Mastery is all about, is about becoming more efficient with that we have. And when I say more efficient, Arthur, I'm talking about being more efficient in terms of having more money each month, getting out of debt quickly in about a third of the time, having more money for retirement in terms of several $100,000 for a typical American family, to have more for retirement, to be emotionally comforted to know that your circumstances are good and that you have a plan, and you know where you want to go. So Money Mastery is all about teaching a change of behavior, a change of methodology, a change of tools and techniques, so that if they're followed, it's like making a cake. If you want to make a certain kind of cake, then you have a certain amount of ingredients in a certain quantity, each of them, and they're put in place in the right order. Now, for most Americans, their financial cake is not necessarily put in the right order, and they don't have the right ingredients. And so it's pretty hard to make the cake that you want, even though you have ingredients, but if they're not managed in the right quantity and the right order, then it tastes pretty bad. It's like putting the egg on the cake after the cake's out of the oven. It just does not work. So that's what we're about, Arthur, is teaching people how to get more out of what they have. And, of course, we want to make more money. Making more money is always a good idea. But if you make more money and your system of managing the money is flawed, then you are irrevocably inefficient. And so what you want to do is have a good foundational personal money management system and then make more money. And now your growth becomes, your financial growth, your financial strength, your asset profile starts to accelerate. And thus you can have more. So there's a lot to Money Mastery. Arthur, did you have any comments or questions for me so far?
This is an incredible interview, and I appreciate you coming on my show today. Alan, can you explain to the listeners in layman's terms, who is the powerful Alan Williams, and how long you've been in your powerful industry, and what is your expertise?
Well, thank you for asking, and I'm delighted to share with you some of the detail of my life, which goes back now a total of 75 years.
Wow.
And during the last 40 to 45 years, I've been entrepreneuring myself. I come from a corporate financial background. I have bought companies, I've started up companies, I've sold companies, I've been with companies going private and going public. And I should have said that the other way. We went public and then we went private. And so I come with a strong financial background at a grassroots level. I'm not talking about big investments. I'm not talking about Donald Trump and Carl Icahn kinds of things. I'm talking about the ordinary, common American citizen, the citizen that really makes this economy grow and go. And that's where I come from. So I've got a lot of work in a lot of different industries. And as a result of that, together with a partner that I have, we have built Money Mastery. So when a person learns about Money Mastery and learns the tools and techniques of Money Mastery, and they learn how to interface their debt and their spending and their taxes and their retirement all at the same time, the tools and techniques that we have developed to allow that integration, which results in an accelerated rate of personal financial progress, It comes from experience. I have my heart in this business. I work with people every day on how to manage their money better. Client just said, by my review of her tax returns, before she submitted them, I saved her $10,000 this year on taxes. I've got clients who they recovered their money mastery fee in a 3-month period of time. I have another client, and this goes on and on. I'm just naming the typical ones. But here's your client spending $4,000 a month more than they have available to spend, and by their acknowledgement and by working with me in Money Mastery, we're able to turn that around such that he was now accelerating down on his debt by $4,000. In other words, there was an $8,000 swing from where he was spending to where he was going now through dealing with his debt. Now, here was a family that was professional. They're lawyers and small business managers, but they were overspending, and it was making them sick, physically sick, couldn't sleep at night, couldn't figure out what to do about it. We got that all worked out, and he became the president of a big multi-million-dollar land holding company in Nebraska. So there are a lot of positive things that come out of my experience, but I would say with myself and my partner and the coaches that we train, that we're imbued with the expertise of experience to talk to people in real terms. Can we make a difference? Can we take a 32-year-old man, for example, who is spending about $2,800 a month more than he makes, and turn that around and still not affect his lifestyle? The answer is yes. But it's all about a change, because most people that I talk to, and I think this would affect a lot of our listeners here today, Arthur, is they're worried about the future. And there's a ton of uncertainty out there financially for all of us. The stock market is all over the place. Deflation is highly being predicted. Negative interest rates. We've seen our stocks go down. Our 401ks get depleted. I mean, it's kind of scary, real scary. And so people need to take stock of this and take action where they can. And where they take action by doing the Money Mastery program, they can just go to moneymastery.com and subscribe to our online program, and they can get help right there to see what needs to be seen. This is very, very complicated stuff. It's kind of discouraging, and people feel like they've earned money and they worked hard for it and they should be able to spend it, and that is true. So it's not about not spending money. It's about spending it strategically and having a plan on how to do that. So we have many, 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 many success stories here. I'm looking at a typical case study that we talk about that I can demonstrate to you sometime, but on the internet. But there's a couple spending. They got 6 debts, and they've got $2,177 a month that they're spending on debt. And we put them into the power down portion of Money Mastery, which is principle number 4. Principle number 4 says that when you power down your debt, you power up your fortune. Well, by applying that principle to this Mark and Joyce couple, we were able to get them out of debt. Instead of 29.5 years, we got them out of debt in 9.25 years.
Wow.
And thus, they went from spending $195,000 on interest, because they had a long-term home mortgage in the deal. Instead of spending $195,000 in interest, they spent $61,000 on interest. So it's a dramatic change. But what's more important, if you take the period of time that you've got your debt, that you're committed to paying on debt, and you shorten that, then you can precipitate out a lot of dollars. So with this same couple, we not only got them out of debt in 29 years, but we got them out of debt, and they had $913,000 for their retirement. So they went from not having anything for retirement and being out of debt to being out of debt and having almost $1 million for retirement. Now, Arthur, this is, there's no mystery to this. This is straightforward time value of money calculations. It's a matter of the discipline and the follow-through. And so with that client, for example, we went on and we found more money. So we found, for example, and this is just the beginning, but in the case of the beginning, we found an extra $300 a month that they could add towards their debt. And when they did that, they went from 9 1/4 years to be out of debt to 7 3/4 years. In other words, we shortened the debt period by a year and a half. We reduced the taxes by $11,000. We reduced the interest by $11,000. And then we added another $250,000 to their savings over that same period of time. So this is a remarkable phenomena that can occur if people realize that it can be done and how to do it. And of course, the trick is how to do it. And that brings up the philosophical position of what we're about, Arthur, in terms of money mastery, which is to help people see what their opportunities are. Let me digress here for a minute. What people don't know, what your listeners don't know as a general rule, they don't know. And I'm not being critical, people. I'm talking to you from much experience, interviewed thousands. I've coached hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of families for a year or longer each. So I've been down the road a piece. That's the quotient of my experience is not only the philosophical basis of money mastery, but the experience of dealing with people all over the country, in the U.S. and Canada, on how to manage their money better. And there's something about money mastery that's particularly notable, which is if you do what we ask you to do, there is no risk. You do not lose money. You do only if you follow what we ask you to do, none of which is illegal, unethical, or particularly hard. And if you follow the plan, you will do much better, just like Mark and Joyce are doing. But here's the thing, Arthur, that people need to learn to understand and how to do. Is to understand, first of all, that there are 4 major elements influencing their life financially. And one, of course, is their income and their spending. And so how they manage that process is important. We refer to it as people needing a spending plan. Not a budget, but a spending plan. There's a distinct difference. 2, they need a debt management plan. So we need to control the spending methodically, and we need to eliminate the bad debt, that is debt that does not make us money, which includes our homes, by the way, and we need to eliminate the bad debt, and then we need to minimize our taxes. Typically, people pay Uncle Sam too much too soon, and they don't know all the options they have to save taxes, and when they do save taxes, they don't capture that savings and make it work for them. They tend to consume it. And the 4th thing is we need to have a retirement and an emergency savings plan at the same time. So there's 4 basic elements: retirement, taxes, debt, and spending. Now here's the $300,000 answer. It is if they learn how to do what they don't now know how to do, meaning people don't understand that these 4 elements are interdependent with each other. So when you put gas in the car, that has an influence on retirement. When you go to buy a suit of clothes, go to the grocery store, all of that, it has an influence on debt and on taxes. And so these things are interdependent. Therefore, the $300,000 benefit is to realize and learn how to manage those 4 elements, hear me clearly now, all at the same time.
You are experiencing a life-changing, powerful interview, and you are hearing it first from Arthur Robinson Jr.'s PowerfulInterviews.com.
So, for example, people go out and they refinance their home to reduce their interest to give them more cash flow. Okay, is that a good idea in and of itself? Yes, it's a good idea if it's 1% or greater in the savings. It depends on some other circumstances, but generally it's a good idea. Now, they've saved themselves $300 a month or $200 a month or whatever it is that they have saved themselves by lowering the interest rate and refinancing. But they've re-extended their term. They've added interest to their process. So we need to take that $300 and not consume it. Let's not go buy a car with it. Let's not go buy a stereo with it. Let's not build onto the house with it. Let's apply it to our debt and get that under control. And then we're in a better position to invest and build with surplus dollars. We need to create income and live on the income with the resulting surplus. In other words, spend less than what we make, and then take that surplus and invest the surplus. And from the surplus, we then buy the exotic things that we would like to have. Investment paintings, vacations, bigger cars, bigger houses, whatever. Do it from the investment side, not from the earning side. So the whole idea of interfacing or integrating or understanding the interdependence of these four elements is critical. Well, how critical is it? Well, it's so critical that if you don't have a systematic approach to how to handle that, you won't handle it well. Under the best of circumstances, you'll be a poor steward of your finances. You'll be inefficient with your finances. So the key is to be able to manage those things by adopting a system. And that's where Money Mastery comes in, Arthur. This is where Money Mastery is uniquely qualified to help people do better financially. Now, there are a lot of programs out there. There's the Ramsey program, there's Mint.com, there's Commuta, and on and on and on. There's a lot of different programs. They all have merit, but nobody offers a holistic, coach-oriented, help-oriented kind of system like Money Mastery does. It's unique in all the world in what it does because of the extent to what it does. So we might feel better because we're tracking our expenses on Mint.com, but if we've been tracking for 2 years on Mint.com and we're still spending more money than we make, then something's wrong with the tracking. Well, what's wrong with the tracking is we're not doing it on an individualized basis. We're not doing it on the ultimate convenience basis with the results oriented. For example, all the other systems are going to talk to you about what you have spent. Money Master wants to talk to you about what you have left. How are we doing within the template that we have created? And this is about an empowerment, Arthur. I know I'm going on and on here, and I don't know whether you've got other questions for me, but
earlier you teach people on how they can manage their money and eliminate their debt. What mistakes you see that entrepreneurs or business leaders are making in regards to managing their debt and managing their money?
Well, the first thing that I see entrepreneurially speaking, and like I said before, I've been entrepreneuring for over 40, 45 years here. So I know all about variable income. I know all about those things. And so it has several fronts, but to the extent that they're organized is a problem. When I say organized, are they sole proprietorship? Are they an entity? Which entity are they? Should they have an entity? Why not have an entity? And then when it comes to the expense tracking within the business, how to do that, and what options are available to you. For example, can you reduce your self-employment tax? Because you understand in business you've got to pay 15.3% in self-employment tax. So that's a big hit. We got to find ways to minimize that. So it's a big, some of the problems I see in entrepreneurial activity is we don't keep good financial records, we don't track properly, and we don't allocate our time properly. We generally go into a small business to make a living and or make more money from whatever else we're doing, and we look at the opportunity, but we don't consider the time management quotient. So if you work 40 hours a week on one thing and you want to add more income doing something else, you have to decide how much time you have available to spend on that something else, that other project. And for the most part, people that are entrepreneuring on a small business basis don't allocate the proper amount of time. They don't understand the need for persistent consistency in how they operate the business. For a lot of people, it's not the amount of time they spend, but rather the persistent amount of time that they spend over time. And, people get victimized by buying programs that say, well, you can make $50,000 a year, you only have to spend 10 hours a week in this real estate project or whatever it is, and you can make all this money. And then they find out that they're spending 50 hours a week and they're not making any money. So it can be really, really frustrating. So the preparation to go into small business is probably one of the biggest weaknesses. We dive into it, but we're not really prepared for it. And financial tracking of the business is critical from a tax standpoint and an overall management standpoint.
Now I'm looking at your impressive resume, and I see that you served as a president and CEO of a multi-million-dollar telecommunications company. Can you explain to the listeners what role did you play in regards to that telecommunications company, and were you responsible for increasing that telecommunications company revenues?
Yeah, this was back in the days when AT&T was broken up, I guess is the best term, back in 1983 and 84, in those years when technology was taking us from a 50-pair fat wire phone to a 8-pair, that is a 4-pair 8-wire highly digitalized phone with a lot of features, which we're all used to now. And of course, the phones have migrated and improved dramatically since those days. But back in those days, we were offering equipment and installation of phone systems, and we got into long-distance business. And that's when AT&T got broken up, then we could do the long-distance business instead of it all going through AT&T. And so we got into that with analog switches, and then we got into digital switches. And technology has moved from back in those days, we were charging 32 cents a minute retail. Cost was like 19 cents a minute. To right now, you just pay a flat fee for your minutes and your cell phone, and you don't even need a phone on your desk because you can operate with your mobile phone. So,
how old were you back then?
Well, how old was I then? This had been back in 8 years, so I was about 43, 45 in those days. So I had a lot of experience, and we grew the company. We were a dominant provider in the area, and we eventually got bought out by our biggest supplier of phones, because we had the corner on the market, and they wanted to protect their invested interest in that consumer marketplace. So we made a deal with them and sold out to them, and then went on with the long distance business itself. And so, yeah, we grew the business and we sold it successfully. And so my background includes this corporate perspective that I bring to the consumer level on what to look for and how to approach things, how to deal with the banks, for example, how to deal with their accountant, their CPA, how to talk to the people that want to invest their money for them. It's amazing. We make investments in 401ks, but we don't know how to read the statements. We don't understand the relationship between age and investing. I was with a client just this week who is approaching age 60 and has a sizable portfolio in the marketplace, and she knew that the market was going to take a big tumble because of this Britain exit from the European common market over there, and it was going to affect the stock market, and she knew her portfolio was going to take a big dump. Well, when you get to be 60 years old, you don't want to be having to lose money. I know people in 2008 that were going to retire at that point in time that still aren't retired. Their portfolio went down by 40, 50%.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it comes to money management, there's a whole perspective of things to consider. And I want to emphasize they need to be considered all at the same time, which is really hard to do when you're looking at it all by your lonesome. You need to have perspective.
401ks, and I know some people 401ks are turning into 101ks, and if you want to pull the money out early, they basically tax you 3 times on that money, and I know 401ks, that money is considered earned income. Can you explain to the listeners, are 401ks good to get involved in if they're working for a phenomenal company?
You are experiencing a life-changing, powerful interview, and you are hearing it first from Arthur Robinson Jr.'s PowerfulInterviews.com.
Let me say that working for a phenomenal company, a 401k is good. I'm going to qualify that. In general, 401ks are good, but they're not good for everybody, and they're not good all the time, and they're not good as the only thing that you invest in. We just did a blog yesterday on the 401k indicating that the highest tax environment you can get into as a percent of the earnings is in a 401k.